the Virtual University. My name is Albert Ocran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard. This is your most inspirational show in the place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse and the Enterprise Group with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Business. Today I get to meet a very special person and the CEO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Tucci Ivowi is my guest for today. Tucci, good to see you.
Great to see you, Rev.
Thanks for making time to join us here on the Virtual University.
It's a pleasure to be talking to you again.
And talking about again, the last time was at that highly successful EWN conference where we had to work together on one of the panels. I really enjoyed it. I did.
It was insightful, honestly, spending that time with all of you, looking at things from a different perspective. I think, women conferences are always inviting a bunch of women, but we need to hear from the men, and it was just a privilege to host that panel. So
Yes. And Kofi Michael and I felt very honored to bring some perspectives from my personal viewpoint, especially talking about the influence of my mother in my life. That was very, very special. So just for the benefit of those of us who may not have met Tucci, before she took up the role as CEO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange, she worked for 15 years with Nestle in various roles, including managing director, marketing communications director, business unit director, managing businesses and teams across 22 countries. And that, for me, is very special. Tell me about traveling. How do you find it working in different cultures and languages, practicing your craft?
it's a wonderful thing because it opens your eyes to so many things. I think when we're working, we can get stuck in a certain sense of myopia, but when you travel and you're working in different cultures, you can never get comfortable. And what you learn about people, about culture, it just opens your eyes to different things, even in business. It allows you to be so much more insightful. So it's a wonderful thing.
Do different countries and cultures place different demands on your managerial abilities?
Different demands, different expectations, and certainly you have to look at management style. It doesn't mean you have to change, but you do have to adapt depending on the kind of culture you're in if you want to succeed.
The global study on the critical skills needed for survival always highlights flexibility, and I think that COVID has made the emphasis on flexibility even more pronounced. Would you say that it's even more real as you travel across the world in different cultures?
Absolutely. We're in Africa. I've worked in Asian cultures, Southeast Asian cultures. You have some similarities. Even religion plays a role. But when you go and you work in the West, expectations are different. So where you might think you're being helpful by asking a lot of questions, by taking your time to explain, you might actually be impeding someone's progress somewhere in the West because they're expecting clear, fast, simple instructions so they can get on with it. So you really have to be flexible. You have to understand that, yes, you may have a style, but you need to adapt it sometimes to be able to get through to the people you're communicating with. Communication is not one way. You can communicate, but if they haven't understood or they haven't taken it in, then really, have you communicated?
So you ask questions and you listen? You listen.
All
right. What about language? How critical is having multilingual abilities in the course of your managerial journey?
I think, we take for granted that English is a kind of global language. And it's true that, pretty much every country you go to, especially in multinationals or large companies, the majority of people will speak English or at least a good level of English. But when you go and you ingrain yourself in another's culture and you at least make an attempt to understand, even if not speak fluently their language, you can actually get so much further. The command of the English language, it's easy for those who are English speaking, but for those who are not, you can get through to them in another way. When I was in Indonesia, I really took my time to learn the language. I must say it was quite easy to learn.
Wow.
Let's say the vocabulary is similar to the kind of A to Z. So it was easy to learn in a few weeks. It's called Bahasa Indonesia. So I could speak it at a basic level, and it came to a point where I could actually make presentations in the language.
Wow.
And when you're trying to work with a team to sell a product, you're going out into the field to the sales team. At that level, not everyone's speaking English as fluently. So there was nothing like connecting with them on that level to really allow yourself to penetrate. And I think it really worked wonders. It helped. I could honestly say that it contributed to business growth positively.
Interesting. Next to English, which is your strongest language?
It's very sad to say French. I say sad to say because I'm a Ghanaian. My dad is an Ewe, my mom is a Ghan. The Ewe, I've done a pitiful job, but I blame it on my father. You know, as a kid, I wanted to learn. So he'll see this and I'll tease him, but I really wanted to learn it. Ghan, I do understand it fluently. But yes, French, I'm conversant with the language. I've worked in French countries and I've had to use it. So that helps when you're using it on a daily basis. It really
I had an
does help.
atrocious experience trying to learn French at the primary level. And I speak for many people when I say that for many people who ran away from French, it was due to the teacher they had at the primary level. And growing up, I realized more and more how helpful it would have been to have French, especially when I began to write and speak. So the biggest thing that I've done in the area of French, Comfort and I, is to give our children the desire and the exposure. So 2 of our children read French up to undergrad, which was great. But I speak very little French. I wouldn't even attempt. But you seem to, do you think in French?
When I was living, I spent a year in France. When I was living there, you know, I studied political science and French at university. I spent my 3rd year in France studying political science in French at a higher institute. So I had no choice but to really immerse myself in the language. At that point, I would dream in French, I would think in French and translate into English. Now it's okay, English, and I'm translating to French. So it's really a matter of the time I spend and where I spend it. But yes, there have been times when that has happened.
I'll come to your work at the exchange, but the more you talk about your travels and the language and the culture and the nuances, the more interested I get. Tell me, did you always want to travel when you were young?
Funny enough, I did. You know, I don't know if I ever said it in words, but in my mind, I was traveling around the world. I was working in different countries. And honestly, it's just reminding me about the power of, you know, visualization.
Absolutely.
Because from a very, very young age, I knew I saw it. There are certain things I pronounce with my mouth, such as the fact that I wanted to study English, French, and history at A level. And I was saying that before I was even 10. I think I was about 7 when I said, you know, I told my dad, we were like best friends. I said, Dad, I'm going to study English, French, and history. And
Seriously?
That's exactly what I did, but I added a 4th, politics. So some things I pronounced, some things I had in my head. So yes, I guess I knew I wanted to travel.
in my interview with Lucy Quist a couple of weeks ago, Lucy mentioned that her mother, seeing planes fly over, even in the semi-rural community, told herself she will travel across the world, and she did. And she says the mom has gone to Australia. She hasn't gone to Australia. She's a global business icon. She hasn't gone to Australia. Her mother has gone there. And it just reminds me of something that Professor Lydia Azia told the Vice Chancellor of UHAS in Ho also said about growing up in a rural community and looking at places and seeing that she would travel the world and she would learn and she would expand her scope. I seem to be settling on the fact that the visual imagery, the things you dream about in your childhood or you even say, sometimes unknowingly, can influence your career path. Would you advise parents, mentors, and people who have a big influence on young people to point them to be careful about what they say? Because it would seem that once the positive can happen, the negative can also happen.
Definitely, but also to encourage them in the things that they're naturally interested in.
Help me understand that.
I was really blessed to be able to, you know, pursue all my different passions. As a kid, I was very sporty. My parents would come to every, you know, competition, sports game I was at. I loved music. I used to play the clarinets. They'd come when we had a concert. I was in an opera. They'd came. So everything I was interested in. I grew up in the UK.
Okay, so
I'll tell you about
sports you were in.
So I was athletics. So I used to sprint 100 meters, long jump. Yes, I was always winning. And in fact, I stopped when I started not winning. I was very sporty. I played basketball. I was one of 2 girls in the basketball team. Netball. football. I was the captain of most of the sports teams. I was, in fact, all my family was sporty.
Tell me about
My siblings as
UK.
well.
Which part of the UK was it?
Finchley, North London.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, for us, we spent our formative years there, so that really was my first home. What was good about it was, again, growing up, generally I was able to pursue different passions. I had exposure to different things. My school was known for having a good choir. So when one of the big opera houses came to audition people for an opera, I was in the audition and I got the chance to be in an opera Tosca in the West End.
So I was going to ask about that. I had a chance to go to the West End a couple of times and Les Miserables.
And all of those. It's a beautiful thing.
I think the West End is just and talking about that, I mean, I sometimes catch Uncle Abel White, a good friend of mine, and see when we get the kind of West End thing in Ghana where you see Lion King has been shown for 22 years every single day.
I definitely look forward to that point, honestly, because we have so much when it comes to the arts and culture. We are so rich in it, but I think the resources and consistency over time, we need to put our money where our mouths are and really try to promote art and culture in Ghana, because people will come. People will come for it.
So you performed in the West End?
I did.
I must tell you that. Wow!
Of course, it was just a chorus role, but to
matter.
have that privilege to be able to, be on that stage, it was a wonderful thing. So growing up, I think I had a very good childhood. I made a lot of friends. Let me say that I like being by myself.
Okay.
When people ask me, are you an introvert, extrovert? In fact, they don't ask, they assume I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I love spending time by myself. I love to read and so on. But I do like people and I make friends easily. I made a lot of friends from, many different nationalities. And I think all of that has combined to, enrich my experience and make me the person I am. So growing up was a wonderful time for me. And then I came to Ghana one day. It was 20-something years ago. I came on holiday and I never went back.
What happened? What caught your attention?
I loved it. The sun, first of all.
All right.
I came at a time when, in fact, there is still a lot of growth. When you're in the West, you start working there. I started my career in the UK. Just to grow by 2% is a big deal because, a lot of businesses and industries are saturated. Then you come here and you can grow by 30% a year. It's something else. I think at the time I came, I realized, look, we are, Ghana is a wonderful country. There's so much potential. Why don't I stick around and see how I can also contribute to that? But it was all by mistake.
I'll come to the mistake, but you spark a very interesting conversation when you say, you got here and you say Ghana is a lovely country and you want to stay here. In my conversation, let me reference once again my conversation with Lucy, who says there are two stories in a story, in every story. We actually had it published in the Daily Graphic, that particular article, and we'll publish it as well. And she contrasts the fact that almost like the book A Tale of Two Cities, you have people who are rushing to run away, and then others who say, wow, it's a beautiful opportunity to be here and be part of this. How do you have in one story two such contrasting perspectives? I mean, people, I hear the word is now Japan. You're eager to run out of Ghana and go to any embassy that will give you a chance to fly out. And then you are saying you came here and you got so attracted and you didn't want to go back. Tell me about those two stories.
I think I'd start by just using the word mindset.
Okay.
People think the grass is greener. That's the perpetual story. The grass is greener it never is. I think, and remember when I started by sharing about my childhood, I said I had a wonderful childhood. It enriched, my whole experience and brought me to where I am today. So I didn't complain. I loved it. But when I came here, I loved it too. So it was about seeing what was rich here, seeing what was good, and deciding that I also wanted to be part of that. So I wasn't running from something to something. I came here and I just said, wow, this is something. In fact, I came with one suitcase. Like I said, I was on holiday and I was going to go back, but I met somebody by chance. He's called Mr. Gedilai. A lot of people in the advertising industry will know him. He said, look, why are you running back? Just come. We have something, a project. I'd like you to work on that. So I said, why not? Let me go and see him at his office. We spoke. I said, okay, good. I'll stay for a few months and work on this project. Those few months turned into what ended up being 1 year, because apart from the one project that he enticed me with, it was to do with tourism. We were working on something for the Ministry of Tourism. And like I said, Ghana was a wonderful place. And, you know, this was exciting. Let me have a little part in seeing how we can develop this tourism area. But then he ended up giving me a whole bunch of other clients to work with in a very short space of time. Long story short, one of those clients was Nestle, who then asked me to join them. So I'll come back. So here I was in a wonderful place, enjoying myself. Like I said, I didn't have any regrets about where I'd been, but I also said this is a wonderful opportunity. And I think that's the difference. People are running from here because they think it's no good and it's got to be better abroad. Why not make the most of where you are right now? When you go somewhere else, you do the same thing. You make the most of it. It's about seeing beauty in everything, or seeing potential everywhere. So as much as, you know, Africans are trying to run to the other side, I can tell you in the West, many people are trying to run here. Go around, go to schools. If you have kids, go to schools where you have a lot of expat parents. If you're in, you know, companies where you have expatriates, talk to them. You'll see just how happy they are. You know, they have countries, they're coming from, you know, different parts of the West, but they love it here. They've made new lives and they can't wait to, you know, go and experience even other parts of Africa. So it's really
in the mind.
It's in the mind.
Let me explore the idea of a mistake becoming an opportunity. You use the words, actually was by mistake. Help me to understand that one.
It was by mistake because I didn't plan it. So the same way that people say, oh, you know, I want to move back, you know, but I'm nervous. Is it going to be good? Is it, you know, going to work? Will I get frustrated because things are slower in Ghana or in Africa? Is it really going to work? So there's a lot of anticipation, there are nerves, and often when people come with that, they're already bogged down, so they're not giving themselves that opportunity to flourish. In my case, because I only came on holiday, I may have stuck around for 3 months because I was working in the UK. I didn't love my job. I decided to leave, come to Ghana. This is the country of my birth. This is the country, where I'm from. I wanted to get to know Ghana a little bit. So 3 months, why not? But that chance encounter that led me to, taking on a project, that led me to then staying on longer, and then getting Nestle inviting me to join them. Even with Nestle, they said, we have a new business we want to start. That's Nescafe coffee. We're not yet in the coffee business here. We want somebody to come and set up the coffee business, launch this brand in a big way, Nescafe. Would you do that? Would you stay for at least 2 years to get that started? Because they knew my plan was to go back. So I said, you know what, why not? Even, as a teenager, I used to love the Nescafe brand. So what a wonderful opportunity. So again, it was by, let's say, chance. It wasn't something I'd planned to do, but a brand I've always loved now inviting me to come and help to set it up in Ghana. And by the way, when I came to your office, I was served with a tray of nice, Nescafe products.
Big fans
Nescafe
of
3-in-1, which I launched here in Ghana. So I was very happy to see that. And then 2 years with Nestle turned into 3, 4, 5, 6. Before you knew it, I was with them for 15 years. So all of this has been unplanned, has been by chance, but has been a wonderful thing.
I have 2 friends in the UK who lead an organization called Migration to Ghana. Kwame and Jackie, and I'm sure they are watching this and saying, oh my goodness, this is a great conversation. They have a network of people who genuinely are considering, either in the short term or medium term, relocating. They sometimes talk about it. There was a whole program that they had that I joined from here, talking about the opportunities and the challenges of somebody who has lived all their lives and Ghanaians, for that matter, who've lived all their lives in the UK or in the diaspora, who are thinking of relocating. What would you say to a person who genuinely wants to be a part of the story that you describe, or take advantage of these moments that come your way that could probably be the doorway to the future, but also is aware of the challenges that come with leaving what you are so comfortable with to try out or strike out and try out? What would be your message to them?
I mean, people will tell you you need patience to come and live and work in Ghana. Certain things may not go as fast or will not go as fast. You have to relate to people in a different way. If you go to anyone's office today and you don't greet them and then suddenly you need to ask them something, you go back, they're not going to help you. But it's about understanding the culture. And actually, if you're from Ghana, give Ghana a chance. I'd say, look at all the things that we have here. Just family alone, that support system, everything you love. I know Ghanaians who live in, the UK and America, different parts of the world, they congregate together. They still eating their fufu and soup and doing all the Ghanaian things. Why not come and do it here? And actually be part of society and be part of making that change. One thing that I don't respect is people complaining and not wanting to do anything about it. If you want to use your mouth, use it positively. Come and, advocate for those changes that you want to see made. Actually do the work with your hands, because that's what's going to change. If you want your children or your grandchildren one day to enjoy this country that you proudly, call your home, then who is going to be the one to make those changes, those positive contributions? So if you think you've seen something that's working well abroad, come and, be part of making that change here. Remember, the things are also working very well here that others are now trying to emulate abroad. So again, it's shifting that thinking that everything is not perfect anywhere, but it can be good, and you can, be at home. There's nothing like being at home in your own home.
Well, I love that.
That's what I would say.
There's nothing like being at home in your own home. The voice of Tucci Ivowi, the CEO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange, helping us to unpack the story of her life. Tucci will shortly be telling us about what she does on her 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, whichever time it is that she works. But before that, I'd like to ask you your biggest assets as a person. If you woke up one morning and somebody just was standing there asking you, tell me, you're different. What are your biggest assets?
I care about people, genuinely. I have compassion. I have deep compassion, and this stems from very early in my life. I remember things like watching the starving kids of Ethiopia, taking my pocket money, saving it, and posting it to be able to help with food. I used to write to people, and this, I don't know where it came from, but I used to write letters to prisoners because I knew that a lot of people would go and then everyone would, leave them behind, and, that loneliness. So I'd write individual letters. In school, I hated to see people being bullied. And I shared recently, because I didn't actually realize this was a thing until somebody asked me one day. I have a mental health foundation, and somebody asked me, but why did you set that up? Have you had experience with? And I said, no, funny enough, I haven't. But I think I've always had this thing for the underdog, people who are treated differently because they're misunderstood for some reason or another. And because of that, I think it was because of that sporty background in school, because I was captain of all the teams, I used to come first. That led to, me becoming very popular, because by nature, I'm a homebody. When other kids were out playing, I'd be at home reading, but somehow people were drawn to me, and I think these were all parts of the reason. So I would use that at least to get the kids to stop bullying, other kids. And for many years, a lot of people who used to be bullied, were happy, and, they'd come to me and I'd, hang with them, and, so things like that. That's me. I have a genuine compassion for people.
And did you find the compassion becoming an asset in your professional career and your leadership?
I'd like, for those who I work with to speak on my behalf rather than for me to assume it, but I do think that people are able to work with me. Having said that, I am actually also very tough on the job. I have to make that clear. I work hard, and I expect the same from everyone I work with. So I don't take excuses easily. For me, no is not an answer when it comes to getting the job done. How can we get it done? Yes, there may be challenges, but I think if we really bring out what the challenges are together, we can find solutions. I'm not somebody who will chastise anybody for making a mistake on the job, but I will chastise you if you kept it quiet. That's really important for me.
Communication is very important.
Communication is important. Honesty is important, because I believe that we can solve any challenge, we can overcome any difficulty. If we know what the issues are, we can work together to trash out a solution. So I am tough on the job, but at the same time, even I can be tough on you. I can fire you if you haven't, respected, the work you've been given to do. But it doesn't mean I will hate you. We can still have a relationship after that.
You smile and give the dismissal letter.
So that's my other asset, is a smile. When I meet people, I can't help it. I smile, and it comes from within. And I think that is definitely an asset. If I can lift somebody's day just for a second, I think it's a good thing.
Tucci Ivowi is my guest for today in the engine room, and she's smiling as she's telling me about the seeming contradiction of compassion and toughness, and I love that. Let's go for a brief break. Allow her to drink some Nescafe and catch her breath. When we come back, let's ask about the Ghana Commodity Exchange, and then also ask about serendipity. How does a chance encounter radically change the course of your entire life? And you look back and say, you know what, it was even a mistake. Please don't go away.
Pascal is showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She is pleased, but now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains that he hired a security goat to protect the data shed. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't upgraded to cloud storage yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Well, now that we're all here, I want to start by saying what a difficult year it has been for all of us. But then there's also a lot to be grateful for. Like when I bumped my car into a taxi right at our junction, and the insurance company paid my claims the very same day.
And remember the surprise cash bonus we received for our funeral finance plan? That is what sponsored our trip to the beach.
And the song we sang all the way to Pram Pram. I'm also grateful that every passing year brings me closer to enjoying the retirement benefits I have contributed so much to, and how since I started working from home after the COVID pandemic, I've been taking better care of myself. Even my doctor can attest to that.
Speaking of that, I'm very grateful to the team at Transitions for giving Grandpa a befitting send-off.
Well, on a happier note, I am grateful to have found an affordable office space to rent at Advantage Place.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, and to this wonderful conversation with Tucci Ivowi, CEO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse and the Enterprise Group, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. We will definitely publish this transcript in tomorrow's edition of the Daily Graphic to help you to appreciate the thoughts that Tucci is so wonderfully articulating. When I grew up, I'll be a good communicator like her, because she sleeps, eats, and drinks marketing and communication. And she's been talking about the fact that a seeming chance encounter moved her from the UK, where she had been based, to Ghana, where she wanted to be a part of the Ghana experience. And she is a Ghanaian, but the relocation was occasioned by a holiday that turned into a chance encounter and turned into a new career path. And that part of the story has been very, very interesting for me. But Tucci, let's get back to what you do today on a daily basis, the Ghana Commodity Exchange. What is it about and what do you do?
So I think the most simple way I can explain it is to say that it's like the stock exchange, except that instead of the trading of stocks, we facilitate the trade of commodities. I'll try to break it down in just a few minutes, because I think a lot of people would appreciate an understanding of it. We bring buyers and sellers together to trade. So we don't trade. but we have a platform. We're basically a marketplace, and it's an electronic marketplace. As a seller of commodities, and today we've started with agricultural commodities, but in the future we can list other types of commodities like metals and minerals. Let's say a seller has grains they want to sell. They're looking for buyers. Rather than wait and, for any buyer to come to them, they can bring their grains to one of our warehouses. They have to be a member though. We're a membership-based organization. So they have grains, they bring it to our warehouse to sell. We have buyers who are looking for grains, and rather than going to different, farm gates, one farm after another, trying to aggregate the grains, they can come to the Ghana Commodity Exchange, one-stop shop, to look for those grains to buy. So this is what we mean by bringing buyers and sellers together. All people who are trading on the exchange are members. We are a regulated institution. We're regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The current trading system works. We have a spot trading contract. So if you sell your grains today, it means that it's been in our warehouse. When you're ready to sell, you put it up for sale on an electronic, on the trading platform. A buyer who is looking for the same quality grains may go into the platform, and once he sees that this is available at this price, the seller puts in their price, the buyer puts in the price they want. If there's a match between the sell order price and the buy order price, then basically the trade is effected. The buyer can go to our warehouse to pick the grains, and the seller will receive their payment from the Ghana Commodity Exchange within 24 hours, because the buyer would have deposited funds in one of our settlement accounts. It's a bit deep and it can sound rather complex when I go into detail, but really it's simple. Members who have come, who have been trained, know how to use the platform. It's pretty seamless. And yes, farmers are trading on the exchange.
That's one of 4 questions I have for you that I'm sure you will be very happy to answer. One is that it would seem that this is aimed at reducing post-harvest losses significantly.
Absolutely.
So my first question was, are the farmers patronizing this, and you say that they are.
Yes.
My second question is, where would your warehouses and silos all be located?
So
which parts of the country?
Currently we've just listed 5 commodities: maize, that's white maize, yellow maize, soybean, sorghum, sesame, and rice. So we have warehouses in the production areas. So from Ashanti, Brong-Ahafo, and up to the northern regions of the country as well: north, upper east, upper west. Yeah. So those are where we have warehouses.
Wow. So from your perspective, this could be the game changer in our agribusiness drive?
It is definitely a game changer. We started small, very deliberately so. This is a new thing, it's major, and first of all, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built around it, because for every commodity you need a certain number of warehouses to store them. You need to bring market actors on board. People have to understand the benefits of trading on an exchange. People will ask you things like, well, is it not going to make the price of kinky more expensive? Is it not going to cut out the middleman? So many questions, but actually it's there to benefit different market actors. I'll just give a very specific example. As a farmer, if you sell your commodity through the exchange, one is that you understand the price, you understand the value of your commodity. Mm-hmm. So we don't just sell maize wholesale, we sell graded maize. So grade 1 being the highest quality, down to grade 4 being in quotation marks the lowest quality. A grade 1 quality maize means that you can use this to produce cereal for infant food, adult nutrition. Somebody may go for a grade 3 to buy for animal feed, for example. So depending on the grade, you can receive a premium for that commodity. So already the transparency in terms of pricing and the value of your commodity is there for a farmer. For what you call the middleman today, that's an aggregator. Normally they'll just go take from the farmer, then they'll go and sell, they make their money. The farmers often get very little. Whatever the aggregator will pay them, sometimes the farmer has no choice. He needs money to feed his children and so on. He takes whatever he gets. He or she gets. I was going to come to that. And today the aggregator can also make money on the exchange. They can act as a broker. Okay. So a trader can trade by themselves, directly on the exchange, or they can decide to go through a broker. Maybe they can't be bothered with the headache, they'll go through a broker. So this previous aggregator can set up a company and act as a broker. they get a percentage, they get a fee. But at least the farmer knows the fee that the aggregator is getting or the broker is getting, and they know how much they're getting for their commodity. They're empowered. It's a win-win for everybody. And then a buyer who is looking for a certain quality knows that they will get that quality when they buy
from the trial and error.
Exactly.
Skill. Let's talk about skill. Can this be skilled at big time such that everybody and then more products can be listed?
Absolutely. And that's the phase we're in. So when we started, we knew we had to go step by step, prove the model, ensure that it works so that we can build confidence in the market. Now we've gotten to the point where we're literally ready to scale up. We have certain initiatives we're working on with different institutions. There's the Ministry of Food and Agriculture who's looking at increasing production and the volume and the value, let's say the quality of production. They're also going to be working with the Commodity Exchange. We'll be managing some of the warehouses and bringing these good quality grains through to off-takers. So there's a lot, and we are at the point where we're getting ready to scale. That's just in Ghana alone.
Right.
The second phase will then be to open up to cross-border trade, regional trade, and this is something that we've already started working on. Just a couple of weeks ago, we brought all the existing African commodity exchanges to Ghana. We invited them over to talk about potentially forming an association of African commodity exchanges working with the African Continental Free Trade Area. And every single one agreed. So this was really, it's a major turning point for commodity exchanges for agriculture in all our African countries. And we'll be meeting again next week to sign an MOU and to take, not the conversation, but to take the action further. So we're at that point now.
Let me take advantage of your presence and your experience first with Nestle and then also with the Commodity Exchange to explore the possibilities, the immense possibilities in the field of agribusiness. We would like to, for lack of a better word, borrow your voice and your leverage on your reach to excite the young people of this country about agribusiness. What would you like to see about the potential in farming, agriculture, agribusiness?
Yeah, I think in the last 6-7 years, we've been talking a lot. You'll hear different people saying, we're now trying to make agriculture sexy. The picture of the hoe and cutlass with the old farmer is gone. And there's a new picture emerging. So many youth, literally in the last 5 years, you're seeing youth enter agribusiness because they've realized that even farming, because agribusiness is huge. I mean, from the farm to processing, manufacturing, creating brands, exporting them globally, the value chain is wide. But even farming alone, there's money to be made in farming. But now when you know that you can plant a seed, turn it into a crop, trade that crop on a commodity exchange using this electronic trading platform to be able to access markets in Ghana and globally, then you can take that crop, turn it into a finished good, which you can then brand, package, and be able to position it for trade on a global level. It's major. The opportunities are immense. So like I said, even farming alone, if you have a passion for any particular product, I think, do some research, go into it, but understand that you have a whole chain. You can work with collaborators, you can work with partners, you don't have to take part in the entire value chain, but understand that it is a massive business. And I think people who are clued onto that are now putting whatever small funds they have, they're investing it into agribusiness. Just the Ghana Commodity Exchange alone, the kind of jobs that are now becoming available and the kind of businesses you can create. I just spoke a few minutes ago about the aggregators, the traditional aggregators, who are now setting up, companies to be able to trade on an electronic exchange like this. They'll be able to have access to markets globally. They'll start by employing 2-3 people. Some of them that we started with were kind of one-man shop. Now some of them have 20 people. Some have moved, even bigger. And you can see the volumes of their trades increasing year after year. It tells you something. And that's just one type of job or one type of company you can set up. There are so many.
It's unbelievable.
So many. People are building apps for,
Absolutely.
you know, to support the business. So yes, it's immense, and I'm very excited about it. And I think people should do their research and really think critically about investing in this area. No country can move to full industrialization until they've really developed a strong agricultural economy. It starts here. So if you want to, you know, be part of that drive, this is it, and this is the time. When all the focus is behind agriculture, this is the time to put your efforts and your money in.
Absolutely beautifully captured. Tucci Ivowi is our guest for today. And Tucci, Springboard is partnering with the MasterCard Foundation on a program called Ghana Grows. And in our work across the country, engaging with young people, trying to find out what would make them consider a career, a decent and fulfilling job in agriculture, agribusiness, and technical and vocational skills. Last week I posted a simple question, and one of the responses that I found were very interesting relating to what you just said is that somebody simply said, he who feeds you, or the one who feeds you, controls you. And it just struck me that, wow, the one who feeds you controls you. And so food self-sufficiency is a no-brainer. We can't even debate about it. As long as you can't feed yourself, you are vulnerable in one way or another. And COVID made us see that once things become tough, or even the Russia-Ukraine war, once things become tough, they keep what they have, and then suddenly you are disrupted in a big way. Let's talk about awards. In the course of your work, you've been recognized among with several awards, including 100 most outstanding female change makers in Ghana. That was 2020, 2021. The Corporate Ghana Hall of Fame, National Innovative Business Leader of the Year 2022, and quite a number of others. How have these awards affirmed what the values and principles that you live by as a person?
I'd say, and this is something which I don't share enough with my, mentees, with my colleagues, with those I work. A lot of people need affirmation, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I've worked with so many people in so many different countries with so many different personalities. There was one lady, who was in my team in one of the countries I worked in. One day she came and she said to me, "Am I doing a good job? Because you haven't said anything." So I had to reassure her. I said, "I'm so sorry. I want you to know that you are doing an amazing job. The reason I haven't said anything is I tend to talk when there's a problem. When there's no problem, you don't hear from me.
So if I'm not communication and feedback."
That's it. But communication and feedback is different for different people.
Right.
So I've never been the person who was waiting for my boss to tell me you did a good job. It doesn't move me very much, honestly. If my boss says, "Well done," thank you, but it's not what moves me. But when my boss then gives me another challenge or gives me a project, then I know that that's coming from a place of confidence. He or she has believed that I've done a good job in this, and they've given me that, responsibility to do this next job. And that's when I say, wow, thank you for that confidence that you have in me. So for different people, feedback means something different. So for her, she wanted me, each time she did something well, for me to tell her that. And because I learned that that was her style, I made sure that, from that moment on, I would always tell her when she did a good job. You will always hear me when there is a problem. When something's not going well, I will intervene. I'm ready to help the team down to the smallest detail if I have to. But by nature, I'm not a micromanager. I give people space to get, that's the way I thrive. Give me the task and let me get on with it. But if if you want me to hold your hand, I will. So this is where we talked earlier about flexibility. Okay. So yes, so for me, the recognition, the awards, the deep satisfaction has come from being put in positions of privilege to be able to do what I love, to be able to contribute to different things. Again, throughout my career, apart from one job, which I really didn't like, I've actually loved everything that I've done, and I felt that I've contributed something. Today, what I'm doing with the Ghana Commodity Exchange is something which is sometimes difficult to express into words, because the kind of impact that we are creating It may touch one farmer, one day it touches 100,000, another day, hopefully one day it touches, 10 million farmers, but it's something that I can't put into words. And I know the team feels the same. So that for me is real, it's a reward, let's say, for the work that we're doing.
Back to the compassion that you talked about when you were a child, looking at the farmer in this case isolated as the underprivileged and feeling that your work is helping to make them more empowered.
One of our values at the organization is equality. I really believe that we should be at a place where we're not talking about different groups or classes of people in different ways. When it comes to certain things, everyone should be on a level playing field. And the kind of let's say the kind of impact that a commodity exchange can bring beyond everything I spoke about, access to markets and things like that. There's a whole access to finance angle. Today, a smallholder farmer cannot go to the bank to get credit because maybe they don't have land, they don't own, especially a woman, the land is not in their name, it goes to the man. So they own no land, they own no house, they own no car. But today, with a warehouse receipt from the Ghana Commodity Exchange, this is basically just proof that we have custody of your commodity. You can use that to go for a short-term loan. That's an impact, and that's bringing people closer to being, on the same level or having similar access to opportunities, and I think that's important. Yeah.
Tucci Ivowi is my guest for today. She's the CEO of the Ghana Commodity Exchange. In the engine room with me today, unpacking the story of her life. As we begin to wind down, Tucci, have you failed before?
Well, in my job, let's say there's been one challenge after another. People ask, how I, respond to challenges. And I'd say that almost every role I've been put in, it's almost like, a kind of setup to fail, because I've either been asked to go and set up something completely new. And with that, it's always 50-50. You're either going to fail, you're going to succeed. Or I've been asked to go and turn around a troubling business, with one or two options, either turn it around, shut it down, things like that. So it's always been tricky, and it's always been challenging. Not all of them have gone the way that, I've wanted them to go. At different points, I haven't gotten the results that I wanted.
Let's talk about one of them, because and the reason is this. I mean, you look so well put together that somebody says, see, this is the life I want to, but my reality is different. So let's talk about a moment when you felt, is it all coming down? I mean, is there no option left for me? Have you ever felt that way? Almost helpless? I
have, but at the same time, the honest truth is that, and again, maybe because of the nature of the roles I've always been given, it's always been a kind of close shave. And I think one thing, and I'm glad you've asked me that, because it's given me the opportunity to say this. I have a very strong and close relationship with God. And that has been what has carried me throughout my career. Actually, nothing else. If I didn't have that, I can tell you, I don't know. I say people who don't know God, I truly feel for them. I don't know if this is politically correct to say,
it's absolutely
but I
fine.
do wonder how they cope when, things get tough. The reason I've been able to cope is because this is the relationship that I have, but also because I believe that He leads me in some of these areas. There have been certain jobs when I've, first been asked to take them. My first instinct was to say no, but I've had conversations with God, and He says, no, I'm not going to take you somewhere and not be with you. And so I go. And because I know that even when things are going really bad, I bear it, because I say there's a bigger picture. There's something else I'm supposed to learn from this. You can't become resilient without going through the mud. And resilience is something which you shouldn't even take for granted, because every single person at some point in their life is going to go through some crushing. So the more resilient you are, the stronger you are, the better you'll be able to handle it. And so even that I take, when I went to Indonesia, that was a really tough assignment, because the business, it's not that the business was bad, but compared to other parts of the world, it wasn't doing as good. And so we had a clear challenge to go and, and I was called there as an expert, and I was coming from Africa. Imagine people are looking at me, why is this African being sent here to come and, what does this person know? And it was tough. And every day and every month, it's like just when you're a little bit of hope, yes, it was tough. But you know what? I made such great friends there. And as a Christian going into a country which is a majority Muslim population, and my colleagues there asking me, but what is the secret behind your strength? How come you're always so calm? How come you're so confident? And I could share about my faith. That was a beautiful thing. They were interested. Wow. They didn't ask me, with hopes that I wouldn't say anything. We'd actually engage, and I'd talk about, my belief in Jesus and what's brought me here. And we got to have those real conversations, and I built relationships for life. So yes, for me, it's not an easy thing.
Have you considered writing?
Have I?
Considered writing?
Yes, I love to write.
Writing a book?
Yes, I started during lockdown. I started during the COVID period. But once everything came back to normal, I kind of, put it on the shelf. But I would definitely write. I write articles sometimes. I will. I write articles sometimes. You might see sometimes in the Business and Financial Times, Harvard Business Review. I've done bits and pieces. Chartered Institute of Marketing, but one day I will write the book.
Not one day.
In fact, 2 books. I started 2 books. One was on leadership, the other one was a novel, and they're both halfway done.
Good storyteller. I think it will be great. Tucci, before you sign off, tell me about support systems. People who say some thank yous to people who have been there on this journey, and the whole world is listening. Say a few.
Support system first is my family, my mom, my dad, my siblings, my aunts and uncles. We are so close, and I can't tell you what a blessing this is. I see people think we're strange. We can go out together and we sit there, it's a whole party full of people, but you find us sitting together, not because we're antisocial. We genuinely love each other's company, and they've always been there for me. I mean, the kind of support they even if no one else wants to support you, you know that your family is there. But we enjoy good times together, simple moments, and for me those are the most precious moments in time. I have a very supportive husband. People ask, how can you rise in your career? And again, this is a conversation for another day. I'm not going to go into it, but I'll say even that is a mistake. I didn't plan any of this. But I couldn't have done it in this way or thrived as much if I didn't have that support as well. So my family first and foremost, everyone who I come across, my colleagues, the team I have today, really we have a wonderful thing going. They will tell you themselves. I saw a video, I think, was it a year or so ago, people were interviewing my colleagues about me, and you hear them say the same thing. Oh, she's tough, she's this. But we work really well together, and I really appreciate them. Everyone who I speak to, I appreciate. I'm not somebody who does things that they don't want to do.
Right.
So I thank everyone who's played a role in my life. Role models, people ask about mentors. I haven't had that many people I call mentors. People take mentorship, but they've influenced me in different ways. My bosses that I've worked with, the kind of confidence they've had in me, I've learned so much from them, and we have good relationships today.
The running theme I'll take from this conversation as we wrap up, Tucci, is about what you choose to call mistakes. And being a person of faith, I would use the word serendipity, divinely arranged moments that almost seem like chance encounters that are defining moments. So I'm going to ask you to wrap up by looking into camera and speaking to that person who thinks they've made a mistake in life, and helping them to appreciate that, for all you know, that could be the turning point that you've been praying for. So over to you.
So, I use the word mistake very lightly and in a very casual way, but the truth is, I don't believe anything happens by mistake. If you really get to hear my story, I believe that, because of my position of faith, I believe that God has ordered my steps. But at the same time, I believe that there is an opportunity out of every single crisis, every moment, every wrong turn you think you may have taken. So I'd say embrace change, embrace opportunities. Don't be quick to say no to any opportunity you're given at any point in your life. Sometimes you may say no because you think you can't do it, but you may not have been given that opportunity if somebody higher didn't think you could do it. So I'd say try it and learn from it, grow from it, and you'll be all the stronger for it. So growth is important, and I wish you all the very best in your personal growth.
I'm going to cut this part of the video and keep it and play it to myself when I want to get inspired. But Tucci Ivowi, thank you so much for making time for this conversation.
Thank you very much, Rev. If I can call you that.
Oh, that's fine. Very, very fine. But it's been great interacting with you, and you've been a blessing.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed our time together.
Right. So find this article in the Daily Graphic and keep on being inspired by the story of Tucci Ivowi and the journey of her life. And I'm sure that for all of you listening and watching, there are touch points that you may have that you say, listen, you like the part about mistakes. I like the part about faith. Somebody says, no, I like the part about the blend between compassion and toughness. Whichever one it is that you like. There's a huge conversation going on social media. Choose out of all the slides which one is your favorite and defend your favorite. Tell me why you like that one, and let's make this virtual university a global phenomenon as we just engage these thoughts and share our own experiences as well. You may not be in studio with Tucci, but you may have a similar experience you want to share to inspire someone. Let's keep this conversation going in the virtual space. This has been Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse and the Enterprise Group, with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. My name is Albert Ocran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.